Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of Maddison Avenue, my brand new podcast where we talk about literally all kinds of different things. I am recording this right after I recorded my first episode, so my voice is kind of going out a little bit because I just talked for so long, but I'm excited to be filming this second episode. If you're new here, we're wearing pajamas because matching pajama sets are like one of my personality traits. So I decided I'm going to wear them in every episode, and because I'm filming this back-to-back to the first episode, I'm still wearing my Skims pajamas. They're my fave. Today, we are going to get into all things the Miss America opportunity, how I started competing, why I started competing, my journey from starting out as a teen to now being a fourth-year returning Miss candidate. This organization is changed my life and I'm obsessed with it still 6 years later, so we're going to talk about all of it. But first we're going to talk about the 3 things that you can do instead of scrolling today. This is a segment that comes from the series that I host on my Instagram and TikTok called Things You Can Do Instead of Scrolling. It's exactly what it sounds like. Today I wrote down the 3 for the last episode, but I'm now realizing I didn't write any for the second episode, so we're going to think about them from the top of my head. Number 1 is going to be to try a new workout class. I live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and there are so many different options. I'm personally a Pilates girl, but I love trying new classes at my gym, and there are so many classes that I want to go try with friends. One way to do this is to just talk to your friends and see what classes they're going to and take a free class at whatever studio they go to or whatever workout they do in general. So that's number 1. Number 2 is to go for a good TJ Maxx stroll. I love a TJ Maxx stroll, Home Goods stroll, Marshalls. Any of the above will do, but treat yourself to something new. The deals are so good and it's just fun to decompress and do that. I actually did this the other day and got some really, really cute jewelry from Marshalls. So that's number 2. Number 3, I'm looking around my room for ideas. Oh, you can try a new coffee shop. La La Land just opened pretty close to me, and I'm a big La La Land fan, but they're all in Dallas until now, and I'm so excited to have one closer by, because I have one close to my office where I work, but I don't go that often, and I think I'll go a little bit more now that I have one right around the corner from me. But those are the 3 things you can do instead of scrolling this week. So now we're just gonna get right into my Miss America origin story, if you will. I didn't write any notes because I'm trying to not do notes. I'm trying to just speak from the heart. My microphone's a little bit tangled, so hold on. Putting the computer down, and we're just gonna talk, you and me. Let me take a drink of water because I've been talking for so long. Okay, so let's go back to circa 2018. I'm in high school. I'm a junior in high school, and my best friend and I are in a musical, the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. I'm playing Olive. She's playing Rona. Only theater kids understand any of that. But we're in one of our very long rehearsals. It's probably 8 p.m. and we should have gone home hours ago. And she's wearing these sparkly tennis shoes. This is so funny. I don't think I've ever told this story on social media because obviously there's more reason for me beginning to compete, but this is truly how it came up. I was like, oh my gosh, your shoes are so cute. And she's like, thanks, I got them at Miss Texas Week. They gave them to us for opening number or something. And I'm like, and jokingly I say, maybe I should compete because of the sparkly shoes. And she's like, wait, but you actually should. Because I was 100% joking, but I had always been interested in the pageant world. Let's just get this out of the way. I was a TLC kid. I loved a TLC show, and therefore I watched Toddlers and Tiaras and begged my parents to let me do a pageant. And might I add that Toddlers and Tiaras are extreme. That show is extremely different from competing for the Miss America opportunity, but pageantry in general, because of that show, had always sparked my interest. So she made that comment about me competing and how I like actually should, and not just a joking manner. And I started to think about it more. And then all of a sudden, I was in her house trying on gowns, and I was signed up for my very first local competition. So this friend is, some of you guys may know her. Her name is Landry. Sorry, my computer's going off. Landry has been my friend since my freshman year of high school, and she's actually now a pageant coach. She was first runner up to Miss Texas 2021 and 2022. She's extremely talented. She's a working actress in New York City. She was just on American Idol, and she's very iconic in the pageant world. But I always joke that I was her first client because of when she brought me into her house and had me try on all of her pageant clothes and find things to wear to compete in. And then she helped me write my paperwork, my very first community service initiative. I think it was called a social impact back then, something like that. It was called Be the Light, encouraging positivity on social media, or something like that. So still very similar to my initiative now, which I'll get into later, but just a little bit different. Well, kind of a lot different because so much has changed since then. But she lent me clothes, taught me how to speak on stage, helped me pick a talent song, helped me stage my talent, gave me mock interviews, literally turned me into a pageant girl. And we worked on all of that for a few weeks, and I entered my first local. It was Miss South Lakes Outstanding Teen 2019, and I won first runner-up at that local competition. It was my first one ever, and from that moment on, I was hooked. I was very set on getting a local title for the 2018-19 pageant season, or Miss Texas competition season. I competed in 3 locals, and on my third and final try, I finally won, and I was crowned Tarrant County's Outstanding Teen and went to Miss Texas for the first time. But I still kind of didn't really understand a lot of it. I think it's really, honestly, hard to understand until you're actually in the hotel for Miss Texas week, because it's something that's so difficult to explain to someone. So I'm gonna do my best today, especially for you non-pageant people. I always tell people how hard it is to explain, which is why I should definitely vlog Miss Texas week again, so that people can get a little bit more of an insider scoop. But I went to my very first spring workshop weekend in March of 2019, and it was like everything in life was coming together. I fell more and more in love with the organization as I had appearances, as I met new people, as I saw how motivated competing for Miss Texas Teen, or back then it was Miss Texas Outstanding Teen, how motivated that made me. So I went to Miss Texas for the first time. I did not make finals or anything like that, but I walked away with so much more than stage recognition. I walked away with new friendships with people that I still am friends with today. I walked away with this crazy drive to be the best version of myself. I think that's the biggest takeaway from my first year competing. And I was 17, but that was the only year I could compete as a teen. I think now teens have one more year than that. Actually, I know they do. They can compete as a teen their senior year of high school. I could only compete as a teen my junior year, and then had to be a miss for my senior year of high school at the age of 18. And that was a very hard transition for me, because I had a lot of confidence after Miss Texas Outstanding Teen, just because I didn't walk away with placement, but I walked away feeling so confident and proud of myself. And then it was definitely discouraging to walk into local season and to compete over and over and over again and not win a title. I think I competed in about 7 locals before winning a title that first year as a Miss, and it was honestly a blessing in disguise because all of those local competitions served as practice for the real thing and served as more experience for me, for someone who didn't grow up in the pageant world and didn't start till I was a little bit older, which now is honestly becoming more common. Like a lot of the girls that are competing at Miss Texas this year didn't start until they were maybe even like 25. Our current Miss Texas, I think, started when she was 25. So it's definitely possible to do well when you're a little bit older, especially now that the age range goes up to 28. When I first started, it was 25. So that's crazy because at 25 felt so far away, and now I'm 23. So it's 25 is getting closer, but now I have till 28, so it's all good. But anyways, took me about 7 local competitions to win that year, and I finally walked away as Miss Mid-Cities, and then the world shut down for COVID, for the pandemic. They ended up delaying Miss Texas a year, or all Miss America competitions were delayed a year. So everyone held their titles for 2 years. So I was Miss Mid-Cities 2020 and 2021. And I grew a lot that year because between being a senior in high school, competing as a Miss for the first time in 2019/2020 to June of 2021, I had gone through an entire year of college. So I was a whole new gal at that point, and I walked into Miss Texas as a Miss for the first time. And once again, I don't think I heard my name called a single time, not for a scholarship, not for a single award or anything. But once again, I walked away with such a strong sense of sisterhood, such a strong sense of motivation to work towards becoming a better version of Maddison and towards succeeding in the organization. So that was 2021. And then 2022 rolls around, and I'm like, you know what? I really want to compete. I'm so motivated to compete. I would be so heartbroken if I didn't get to go to Miss Texas next year. But I was also a sophomore at the University of Alabama, 600 miles away from Texas, and coming home to do a bunch of local competitions was just not feasible. So I did 2 or 3, didn't win, and had kind of come to the fact that I probably wasn't going to get to go to Miss Texas that year. I ended up competing in an Alabama local competition because, for those of you who aren't familiar with the organization, you're able to compete in any state that you either have residency in, you're a student in, or you work in. So because I was a student in the state of Alabama, I was able to compete in either Alabama or Texas. So I did compete in one Alabama local, and I was a runner-up for that one as well, but I didn't win, and I was honestly really upset about it, but it all ended up working out for the better because a few weeks later, the Miss Texas organization announced that they were opening up they were going to do a virtual pageant to crown some additional title holders to go to Miss Texas that year, and I was one of, I think, 2 that were chosen to win those virtual titles. So that's when I was crowned Miss Lone Star, and I went to Miss Texas for the 3rd time in total, 2nd time as a Miss. And that year, I'm trying to think. Honestly, because I got my title so late that year, I did not have the work ethic. Let's just say I didn't have the work ethic that I have today. I mean, I was a hardworking person, but when it came to the pageant, I didn't take it as seriously. I'll put it that way. I didn't take it as seriously as I take it now. And so I did not place again, but you know what happened? For the first time ever, I actually heard my name called because I won a scholarship that was decided through an essay, and I had finally, at that point, I had become very confident in my writing skills, and so that was kind of a testament to the growth that I had there, and I was really excited and proud of that accomplishment. So I won my first Miss Texas scholarship, and also, once again, made a ton of new friends, had a great roommate. It was just a really fun week. I still walked away knowing that I wasn't done, that I was going to keep working towards succeeding, because I'm going to say it again, being the best version of myself is one of the biggest goals here, is to truly impact others and also grow as a human. And the person that I was when I started competing versus who I was at that point, the transformation was huge. So I knew that I wasn't done. I was going to continue competing. At that point, I probably said I was going to compete until I ran out of eligibility, because I was so obsessed with the organization, still am, but I was really driven to compete again. I competed at one local, or maybe two. I competed at two, both with a team of directors that I was really passionate about working with, that I was really excited about the possibility of working with. And one of those titles was actually for my hometown. Another one was for the town that I attended high school in, so really special to me. And I ended up a runner-up to that competition. And it kind of broke my heart a little bit, because there were two titles, and my friend Laine, who I talked about at the beginning of this, she was one of them, and we were really excited about the possibility of holding those titles together, because we were both from the same area, which these titles were representing. And it would have just been a very fun, full circle, very cool moment. So that didn't work out for me. And at that point, I was like, okay, well, I have to go back to college. I guess it's not happening for me this year. I guess I'm taking a year off competing. Until Landry signed with a talent agency in, I think, February of 2023. And she had to move to New York City to go pursue her acting career, which is just the coolest thing. I'm so proud of her. But because of that, she had to actually step away from holding her title. And because I was the runner-up, I took over the title for that year. So it was another year of me thinking that I wasn't going to Miss Texas, and then last minute something getting switched up and me ending up competing. So that year I went to Miss Texas as Miss Colleyville. I literally got crowned 3 months before the pageant, which is a very quick turnaround, honestly. So I put the most I'd ever put into competing into it that year. My camera is about to die, so let's switch the battery real quick. Okay, we're back, and we're talking about preparing for Miss Texas, my Miss Colleyville year. So, like I said, I only had about 3 months to prepare for the competition, but I really put my all into it, or the all that I had during that time in my life. It was the most I had ever put into preparing for the competition, especially in that time frame. It was also the year the competition changed a little bit. It was the first year that we had fitness after having a social impact pitch for a few years. So it was really exciting to have a new phase of competition. And I had literally the best team of people behind me, my directors, the board, my sister queens. It was just an incredible experience to work with all of those people and to be surrounded by them and to have them in my corner supporting me throughout the way. It truly made a huge difference in my experience competing. So I went to Miss Texas feeling so at peace and so excited that week, and it was a little bit of a different experience than I had had in previous years, because as content and at peace that I felt going into the week, and as happy as I was with each area of competition, with the way that I performed in each area of competition, I felt a little bit off. I was starting to feel kind of burnt out. Now, like I said, this is the most I'd ever put into it. I won a Best of Texas gold medal. I won second place in ad page sales. I won a couple of more scholarships. This is the most I had ever heard my name called at a competition, and it was very uplifting. But as the week went on, I felt more and more burnt out in what I had thought the week would be like versus what it was. I kind of had lost the fun element of it, and it started to get really stressful, and I walked away knowing that I was not going to compete again for the next year. But at the same time, that year was so extremely memorable because of the people that I was surrounded by and because of how proud I was of everything I put on that stage, of what I did in the interview room. Like, truly, I felt so transformed at that point. But I knew that I needed a break or else I was going to be literally so burnt out. But one so amazing thing that happened out of that year was that my teen was actually crowned Miss Texas teen, and her and I are so close. I literally hung out with her earlier today, and seeing her win and just being so deserving of that title and truly just doing the best job holding the title and growing so much through it, like, that was just one of the coolest things that I've experienced through competing. So even though I kind of had a little bit of a rough time experiencing the beginning of burnout, it was still such a great experience. And I actually did some volunteering the whole next year instead of competing. Burnout was a big reason why I didn't want to compete in 2024, but also I was about to graduate college. I graduated in May of 2024, and I didn't really know where I was going to end up post-grad. I didn't want to commit to competing at Miss Texas if I was going to move across the country. So I took that year off and really just worked on myself, and I became an adult, and then the competition rolled around and I attended in the audience for the first time, and it really just lit a fire under me and sparked my passion again. Something so powerful about competing is just experiencing dreams coming true. It's how I feel every time I watch a crowning. Also, my sister's being kind of loud, so sorry if you can hear that. If you've ever experienced a pageant crowning, you know how powerful it is when you're just watching everything someone has worked for come into fruition, and also seeing the sisterhood aspect of everybody running to give that girl a hug after the crown is on her head. It's just truly so cool. And Annette, our current Miss Texas, her crowning moment is something that, like, literally replays in my brain because it was just so meaningful, so beautiful. And that feeling of watching someone's dream come true truly re-sparked my passion for the organization and for competing, which I never didn't love the opportunity or the organization, the opportunity. It's always been something that I've loved, but I was just feeling a little burnt out with myself personally. So after Miss Texas Week 2024, I decided we're competing again, and I got all of my things back together and stepped into the 2025 local season. I competed at 3 locals this year. My first one, I knew that because I had been out of the swing of it for a while, I wanted to compete in a really competitive competition as kind of a trial run. I didn't expect to win or anything, but I knew it would be good for me to just compete in it and see what would happen, see how I would do because it had been so long. So I worked hard to prepare and then used that first competition to truly immerse myself back into competing. I didn't place in that one. And then I moved on to the next competition where I had decided that I was going to change my community service initiative. And that's one of the best decisions I've made because changing it has truly sparked my passion in a way that I didn't know was possible and has made me fall in love with the speaking portions of the competition, which have always been what has scared me, what has been hard for me. And truly, like, one huge piece of advice that I can give to anyone who competes or is thinking about competing is to make sure that you're so passionate about your initiative, because if you're not passionate about it, you're not going to be able to speak about it in a way that's truly meaningful and impactful. So that's the competition that I changed my initiative for. But I walked into that competition feeling more pressure than I had ever felt in my entire life, and I totally just fell apart had the worst interview of my life. I was crushed after it because I really, really, really wanted to hold one of those titles. But at the end of the day, it all worked out because the next weekend, I spent the next week recouping, resetting my intentions and goals, and I walked into the final competition, or not the final competition of the season, but the final one that I competed in, and I was crowned Miss Burleson. And working with my director has been so amazing. On top of that, I also have the best sister queens. Like, we are literally 3 peas in a pod. It's me, Miss DFW, who is one of my very good friends, Ren, and then my teen, Carrington. She's Miss Burleson's teen, and the 3 of us are literally like a match made in heaven. Like, we love each other so much and have so much fun together, and I'm so excited to do Miss Texas Week with them. But what I'm getting to here is it all worked out as exactly how it was supposed to, and I've grown so much this year. I've had so many cool opportunities. I have truly come into myself and found and learned so much more about myself, like more than I thought that there even was. I have grown tons and tons, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to go back to Miss Texas as Miss Burleson and to truly give it my all. So, with all of that being said, that was a very long-winded rundown of my experience competing. I feel like I should do an episode breaking down the competition, because that's not something that I did in this episode. I kind of touched on a couple of different aspects of competing, but not like the actual phases. So that's that. If you were watching 17-year-old Maddison, you would truly see a completely different person, and so much of that is because of the Miss America opportunity. Something that I think about a lot is the fact that I've walked into the exact same interview room almost every summer since that summer when I was 17, and every year I was a completely different version of myself because of the growth I've experienced competing. And it's always surreal to walk back into that room and to feel all of those versions of myself, and to just have such a sense of gratitude for the experience that I've had, for the friends that I've made, for the memories that I've made, for the opportunities that I've had, for the growth that I've experienced, for the way that when I was 17, I literally could not speak to a stranger, and now I could talk to anyone. So this competition, or this, I lost my train of thought. This organization truly changes lives. I've said it over and over and over and over again that it changed mine. And I just wish everybody knew about it, and everybody knew what's below the surface of a pageant, because it's truly so much more than that. The last thing I wanted to talk about today is my service initiative. I mentioned how I had changed it in this last season of competing. So the story here is that when I first started competing, I mentioned this as well, is that my initiative was called Be the Light, encouraging, I can't remember exactly what the tagline was called, honestly, but it was like encouraging positivity on social media. And I loved that initiative so much, but something that I had discovered, and a lot of this was due to the fact that my communication skills were not what they are today, and it wasn't translating well. And social media was a lot different than a lot of people that have social media now didn't have it then. Platforms have changed, all of that. So, like, the change in social media played a big role in it, but it just wasn't translating, and people weren't really understanding what I was trying to get across. So I retired that initiative and moved towards an initiative that was more about pursuing your dreams and the importance of pursuing your dreams. And I still think that's so important. One of my favorite things ever is watching people's dreams come true. I touched on that with the whole crowning thing. But I didn't have that fuel and that fire to talk about that initiative as much, and it wasn't as special to me. It also was very broad, so it was probably even harder to grasp than my original initiative. That initiative was called Unfold the Transformative Power of Passion, which was created with the visual of a butterfly, because butterflies are very special to me. My life verse is Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is for you, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. And that verse is also represented by a butterfly, so I really wanted that to be part of it. But it just, like I said, was too broad, was not something that the audience or judges could really grasp or understand. So I decided to retire it and go back to my true passion, which, we're already talking about passions because that whole thing was about passions. But my true passion is social media and making it a positive place, shining light through my platforms. That's been in my social media bios for as long as I can remember. So my initiative is now called Influential, Navigating Social Media with Purpose, and it focuses on 3 different pillars, which we're going to talk about all of those on this podcast eventually. Number 1 is digital safety. So, sorry, I'm losing my voice. Digital safety is literally crucial in this day and age. So many people do not understand the dangers of putting your information out there in an unsafe way, of posting in real time instead of waiting until you've left a location, or in checking your content to make sure there isn't a street sign or your house number in the back of the video. Those are just a couple of examples of true dangers of social media. So that's number 1. Second pillar is social media positivity. That's a lot of why I created this podcast, is because I'm always seeking ways to bring light into the dark world of social media, because it's negative in so many ways, but it's also positive for so many ways, and it has the opportunity to be even more positive if we all come together and make the decision to make it a positive space. So that's number 2. Number 3 is helping others create healthy screen habits. Sorry, I keep saying the word helping before healthy, and that is making me get all twisted up in my words. But something that we're all guilty of is spending way too much time on our screens. Doom scrolling is something that we have all done. I do it. I still do it. Even though I try so hard to be aware of my screen time, it's something that I still fall for sometimes. And so over here, we're encouraging scrolling with purpose. Let's put it that way. So scrolling with the purpose of uplifting others, or seeking inspiration, or things that are educational instead of just scrolling for hours on end. Also motivating people to get out in their community, to make new friends, to attend events, and to have more social interaction, because it's something we lack. It's something that I have learned is really difficult post-grad. So these are just a couple of the things that my initiative, Influential, is all about, and I will dive more into that in a later episode. But that's all for this episode, because it's getting quite long and my throat is hurting from talking. For so long. I also probably moved 500 times in this episode, because I'm someone who cannot stay still. It probably drives my coworkers crazy because I just move all the time. Anyways, that's that. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure to go check out my other socials. I'm at maddisonlainedawson with 2 D's on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and also Miss Burleson TX on Instagram. That's where you can find all things influential, all things Miss Texas, and also just day-to-day life. But I love you guys, and I will talk to you later.